Should Microsoft release a wired AR headset? And what about Windows 10 Mobile? Should it go open source? All that and more on this week's episode of Ask Dan. Stay tuned. Should Microsoft open source the Windows 10 mobile platform? Short answer to this, I think, is no. Now, there's a lot of hope and ambitions around open sourcing stuff, and there's definitely a role for open sourcing software. After all, Microsoft is known to be one of the biggest contributors to GitHub, which they just purchased. So yeah, open source is pretty important to the software community. I don't think open sourcing Windows 10 Mobile would do anything. After all, people would contribute code to it and it may improve over time. But let's not kid ourselves. You need something like a company like Google basically to get behind a project like this and really commit to it to make it happen. Windows 10 Mobile, for all its flaws, still wasn't even that amazing with Microsoft actually developing it. I'm not sure what open sourcing it would really do. Not to mention that's only part of the problem. You would still have to get the hardware. Now, there are a lot of people who have Lumia 950s and other devices out there, but these are some really older chipsets, which means you're going to be developing a newer platform for really old chipsets that are 2 or 3 years old. Just doesn't make a lot of sense. Listen, folks, I get it. I'm a huge fan of Windows Phone. I would love for it to come back and be just awesome. It's not going to happen. It's time to move on. Is it possible for Microsoft to release a tethered AR headset like HoloLens but wired so that it can be set at a lower price point for consumers? Microsoft could definitely do this. Obviously, there's no hardware restrictions preventing this from happening. The question is, what's the usefulness of it? Augmented reality, mixed reality, virtual reality are still, in my opinion, niche categories. I think we all agree that someday this stuff will be a major factor in our lives and in computing, but we're just not there yet. I kind of get the idea here, though. If you wanted to, say, put AR into developers' hands, why not make a cheaper wired version that doesn't have to have mass appeal or sell a ton of devices to consumers, but can still get it out there? It may not be a bad idea. I'm just not entirely sure how useful it would be. But I could definitely see some usefulness here. After all, a lot of the aspect of HoloLens that makes it expensive is the fact it's an actual computer that you wear on your head, and then the rest of it is going to be those sensors. But if you take out the computer part and say rely on your own PC and just make it the sensors and the prisms, it would still be expensive though. I'd still probably be at least $1,000, I'd imagine. So I'm not really sure it's necessarily going to be cheaper. But yeah, I understand the play here, and it may not be a bad idea. This whole field, to be honest, is a little weird. You see a lot of companies trying different things, but none of them are having a lot of success yet. So maybe Microsoft should try that, but I haven't heard any rumors. You intrigued me with the HP Envy X2 review. What about Microsoft Office for Windows on ARM? Is it there? And how's the performance? So this is a great point. I think in my review I did overlook this a little bit, but to answer your question, it does come with Office built into it. So this is the same version, the same full Office as Windows 10 users get. It's also the same version that's found in the store. It has been recompiled though for Windows 10 on ARM, which means the performance feels just like a normal PC does. In fact, it feels like a Core i3 PC when you use it, just like all the other inbox and Windows Store apps. Now, the real issue is still when you install executable apps outside the store, you get a lot of performance variation. Some of that will improve as developers recompile their apps for ARM64. And we saw VLC recently do that with their Win32 desktop app already. So we'll see more of this coming down the road. But if you're looking to buy an Envy X2 right now and are worried about Office, don't. It's actually one of the best uses of it. In fact, that's what I primarily use it for myself. How is the recent refocus on Cortana any different from Windows Mobile? So there's a lot to unpack with this question. I'll try to keep it brief. Constant Reader 16 is referencing retrenchment, which was the word used for Windows 10 Mobile. The idea that Microsoft was going to pull back in the market to rethink its options and see what they were going to do. That's not quite what they're doing with Cortana. There was no mention of retrenchment with it. What they are doing though is repurposing it and trying to play to their strengths. For instance, there's no phone platform for Cortana anymore. Yes, you can install as an app on Android and iOS, but it's not going to be nearly as good as a native solution. And in fact, Amazon Alexa has the same problem as well. What Microsoft can do though is play to their strengths with Windows 10 on PC. So instead of having it as just an assistant that floats around, it's going to be built into the operating system so it can act on your email, your contacts, on apps, and different aspects. For instance, you can use a lot of AI in, say, photo editing, and Cortana will be able to play a part in there, or grammar checking. These are going to be a lot more subtle things, so you're not going to see Cortana like in your face as an app that you launch necessarily. It'd be something that's weaved into the operating operating system. That's not the same as what they did with phone, but I can see the parallels here, which is Cortana does have a challenge ahead of itself, especially in a very complicated market. I do think that what Microsoft is doing here with Cortana is probably the right path. What is the alternative otherwise? They don't have a phone. So either they pull the plug on it completely or they go down this route. I should also point out that on the PC itself, Amazon Alexa and Google's Assistant have no play either. Yeah, you can install the Alexa app, but it's pretty terrible. It doesn't get deep access to your contacts, your calendars, your emails, your apps you use, your behaviors, your OneDrive. It doesn't do any of that, and neither does Google. That means only Microsoft can create a true digital assistant that works throughout Windows 10, and I think that's the right path that they should choose. Whether or not they're successful or not, I'm not really sure, but we'll have to see where all this is going. Don't forget, Microsoft puts a lot of money into natural language processing, AI, and all this other stuff, and all Cortana really is a front end for that. So this idea that they would get rid of Cortana is kind of weird because they have all that other stuff going on behind the scenes for cognitive services, and Cortana is just a part of that. So that does it for this episode. Remember, if you have a question, use hashtag AskDanWindows on Twitter, or shoot me an email at askdan@windowscentral.com. You can also use our forums and ask there, or leave me a comment below. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. Take care, everybody.